This is where we finished last class. And in this part of the wall, we didn't copy or I didn't copy the floor. Of course, we need to copy this floor here because here we added some details. Okay, so remember that we added this so that we can, yeah, we don't have this gap. If we want to see what we did, we can always work with the section box. And with the section box, if we place the detail here, or if we place the section box, we drag the section box, and here we can see all the elements that we have in this section. Okay, so remember that this is the board. This is something, this this wooden element, it's something that it's at the top of the concrete wall. That's the concrete wall. Then we have this element, this wooden element. Okay, on this element we place the joists. Those are the joists, the structural joists that are placed just on that element. Okay, so here we have the joists and they are resting on this wooden element. Then what else? That's the cellulose. I'm going to use the realistic colors. So that's the cellulose between joists. Okay, and here we wrap the joists and we wrap this cellulose with this rigid insulation layer. Okay, so we have this rigid insulation so that we don't have a thermal breach here. And then we cover the thermal insulation because the thermal insulation cannot be exposed to the outside. We cover this with this wooden element. Okay, then the wall, remember that we had the, that's the column. Okay, so that's the glue laminated column. Then we have these horizontal elements, okay, that are nailed to the column. Between the horizontal elements, we have the thermal insulation. So with this, we prevent the thermal breach from happening. If we look at the floor plan view of this, okay, so you see how the structural column is not in contact with the outdoor air. So we have this element, this thermal insulation. Yes, so this element is not exposed to the outdoor air. So we have this 2-inch thermal insulation, or 3 inches, I don't remember. And then we need these vertical elements nailed to the horizontal ones, to these ones. We have the air cavity. If you see, so that's the air cavity. And now we can nail the siding to those elements. In this case, it's slightly different because the siding is vertical. So I have to nail the vertical siding to horizontal elements. In our case, we have created a horizontal siding. So we are nailing the horizontal siding to vertical elements. Okay, so, but the idea is the same. We need something, and we can nail the siding, the exterior siding, to that element. If we have something horizontal in the siding, this element has to be vertical. If the siding is vertical, then those elements will be horizontal. Okay, but is the same idea. So what do we have to do now? Well, first we should copy this floor, all these elements, to this part of the wall. So if we do that, okay, if I'm copying only the floor, I can select all these. Okay. And now I can, on level 0, I have selected all these joists and floor, and I can mirror this axis here. So now I have copied the floor that way. There is a gap, so I have to fill this gap with another board and with okay, so you see that this is we have a gap here, so we have to continue this gap. We need more thermal insulation, and we have to probably, well, we did this with edit extrusion. Oh, okay. So if we did this with that extrusion, I can go to the top and I can, yep. So if I go to the midpoint here and here, and now I trim, I'm going to use the hidden line because it's easier. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to cover this gap that we had there. So it's just changing the extrusion and doing this way. Okay, I click finish, and now you see that I have closed that gap, and I have to do the same with this. So I edit in place, click here, edit extrusion, and this, then trim. There you go. Okay, so now we have a floor that is okay. I have to do the same in the bottom OSB boards. And finally, I have to fill that gap with thermal insulation. Which gap? This. Okay. So you see that there is a, we have this cellulose, and we have cellulose here, and there is a gap without cellulose there. So what do I have to do? I can edit in place, I think. If I select this and edit extrusion, yes, I can always add a new element made of cellulose here. There you go. Finish model. Okay, so now I don't have a gap because I have continued this board. Okay, I have filled this gap with cellulose, and now I should do the same with that board. Okay, so you have to, this board that we have at the bottom, then you have to continue. So okay. Anyway, so you see that we have the gap here. I created this cellulose, filling that gap, okay? And I continue this board here at the top. So we need to continue this board at the bottom. But at least now, yeah, we have a continuous floor. This is the first floor. That's the basement. That's the first floor. And if I look at this, oh, okay, look at this. So here we have another nice gap that we have to address. Okay, so yeah, we should close this here. So there are a lot of things to to look at. So there is always something that shouldn't be exposed to the outdoors. So I will have to create a, yeah, we'll have to fill this. Okay. But at least now we have the floor here. So why am I doing this? Because now I want to copy this floor to the second floor. Okay, so in this building, we have the basement, we have the first floor, we have the second floor, and then we're going to have the roof. So I'm going to extend the section box so that I can see the whole structure. Okay. And now I have to copy everything to the second floor, including the wall and the window. So imagine that on the second floor, we have the same thing. We have a wall or part of the wall without the window. We have the window on the other side. So we're going to copy everything, and we have to put it above the or over this beam. Okay, so in this case, the structural element is the concrete wall. In this case, the structural element is the beam. So these joists, they have to be resting on that beam. Okay, so let's try to do it all at once and see what happens. So I'm going to copy everything, the walls, the beams, and the floor. Okay, so I have selected everything. I don't need these elements because this is the transition between the concrete and the wood, but we don't have this transition element on the second floor because we only have wood. Okay, so I'm not copying this, but I'm copying everything else. Okay, so the floor joists, these beams, all the wall with all the layers, the window, everything we did. And can we copy that? Well, I'll try. Let me see where we are. This is the hidden line. This is the wireframe. Okay, so I have to place the joists over this beam here. Okay. So I have to copy. Yeah. I have to remove constraints. I'm working on the 3D, on the front view of the 3D layer. I have selected everything. And if I go up, I have to go to this level and see what happens. Takes time because there's a lot of stuff there. Okay, it's not bad. So as we can see, on this pin, I have created this other wooden element. Then we have the joists and all the thermal insulation. Okay, so I have everything there. Well, everything. Not really, because I do have a gap here that I have to fill somehow. Okay. But most of the things are copied there. Do you have any trouble copying all this? Nope. I think I have to change. I'm going to open the west elevation and no, the south. Okay, on the south elevation, I have to change that level. Okay, I have to, because when I created the levels, I didn't know what I was going to do. So I'm going to move this level at the top of this beam. That makes more sense. Yeah. Okay. So now this, the last level is at the top of this beam. This is where the roof is going to start. Okay, so yeah, we have this issue here. So how can we fix this? Well, I'll fix it later, but okay, so we have to fill this with some thermal insulation, and then we have to continue the siding all the way down. So I'll do it later. But there is a gap here that we have to fix, okay? But now I want to start working with the roof. So if we have the roof here, we have to, okay, so this column, well, there is something weird here. Okay, so I copied that. Oh, okay. Sorry? I'm going to go to view, plan views, floor plan, and I want to work on level 26. That's going to be my roof. I don't see anything, and why is that? Because the view range is not the right one. So if I open the view range, it's associated to level 26. So everything is underneath level 26. So I'm going to move it, or I'm going to have an offset like -2 feet and -2 feet. And now I see all this stuff. The view range, if we don't see anything, you have to open the view range, and the bottom and the depth, you have to go down, okay? Because if you see only at level 26, everything is underneath level 26. So you have to go slightly down 1 foot, or I went 2 feet down, but it can be only 1 foot. And apply. Well, 1 foot is not enough because I don't see a lot of stuff here. So I'm going to go 2 feet down. And now at least I see where this is the beam or the wall. Well, in filter, the beam is going to be here, okay? So that's the column, and that will be the wall or the beam. But what I know is that I have to I'm on level 26, and I have to place the joists in this position. And where are the joists? Well, I have these stats, and everything has to, it's not mandatory, but if all the structural elements are lined up, it will work better, okay? So, yeah, so I'm going to use the joists, the same joists that I use for the floor, but I'm going to place them at the top of these stats. Okay, so what were the joists? You have to go to structure, beam, and we had the plywood web joists. This one, I don't know which one I used for the floor. Let's use one of them, this. And now I'm going to place it. You can start at this grid line, and we go all the way there. Okay, so that would be the joist. If you go to the fine detail, we can see more. And that joist is there. And it's horizontal. And it's, you see where it is. Okay. So this doesn't work because I have to place it. I'm going to use the hidden line. Okay. If I'm using hidden line and I open level 26, well, the joist is not placed at the top of the beam. So I have to drag it. I have to start the joist there. Okay, so I have to make sure that it's at the top of the beam, and I would drag it even at the edge of that beam if I could. Apparently I can't. See if I can do it. Nope, doesn't let me. Okay, interesting. But now it's entering the beam. So I have to move it up. Okay, so I have to take this. I will try to move it because it has to be resting on the beam. So remove constraints, I move it up. Okay, that makes more sense. Because now this joist is leaning on the beam. Do you have any issues with that or? Okay, so that's it. The joist has to be at the top of the beam. This is structurally, this is what should happen. But now, if I'm creating a roof, I need to tilt that joist. With a floor, it can be horizontal, but now it's tilted. So how can I do that? If I select this, you see that I have a lot of information here. I have this is the base. Okay, so this is where this element starts. Okay, so I have moved the beam up 10 and 1/4 inch. And in this case, it's like this. Okay, so what if I change this value? Will it change? It's in my case, it's 1 foot and whatever. So if I click here and I make it, let's say 6 feet, what happens? Nothing. Okay, so this is not what I want. So this value, okay, so this value is, okay, it's the distance between this and that. I think it's this value, the one that I have to change. So this elevation is 27 and 2 feet. Okay, so let's make it 36 feet. And yeah, this is what I wanted. Okay, so do you see what I have done? I'm going to do it again. So I'm on level 26. I place a joist, I select beam, plywood joist. I start here, and then I go all the way there. So now I have a joist. The problem is that this joist is not at the right level. So what I have to do is to go to level 26 again. I have to drag this to that point. Okay, so now it starts in the right point. And in the south elevation, or in the, well, 3D view, I have to move it up. Okay, so it has to be above this level. So I select this, I move it, remove constraint, and the bottom of the joist has to be above this level. And now, if I want to tilt it, I have to select the beam, and this number, it's 27. That's the elevation of that point. So I have to change that elevation to 36, and now it's tilted. Make sure that, yeah, it's tilted. There's a problem here because if the joists are different in length, well, the joists were different in length, so that's why I've changed the elevation, but they don't match. Anyway, I did it, so if I want to make sure that all the joists are at the same level, it's better if I select this one and copy this one here, and then on the 3D view, the joists are the same. Okay, so I did it again so that you know what to do. But once you have created the first joist, tilted one, then you have to copy instead of creating another one and tilt it again. If you have tilted or make the angle for one of them, and then you'd better copy, and we can keep copying. And now, okay, I think the first one should be here. Yep. And now I'm going to copy all of them. This is gone. Copy. Okay. And now I'm going to copy or mirror all of them. I'm going to use mirror here. And now it should, yeah. So I have all the joists there with the same tilt, or it should be the same tilt. Okay. I'm not very happy with this because as you can see, it's not leaning on the beam itself. So is there a way to change that? And some of the, okay, we have to be careful because some of the joists are not in the right position. Probably when I copied it, okay, I'm going to do it again. Because when I copied the joists, I wasn't careful enough. And probably I made some mistakes. Okay, I'm going to do it again, but making sure that when I copy, I don't change the angle because the angle is important. Okay, so copy this here and here and here. So I'm going to check that so far we are good. Yes, we're good. So now that I have only a few of them, I'm going to try to move them in this direction. Okay, so I'm going to move the joist in this direction. Yep, that works better because now it's leaning on a structural element, or at least it's at the top of a structural element. Yeah, I think that will work better. Okay, and now I have to keep copying. I'm going to select two of them and copy from this point to this point. Yep. And now let's make sure that everything is correct. Yes, so all the joists are at the same level. And now I can mirror. And okay, so all the joists, they are here. And you will say, okay, but there's a gap, what the hell? Yep, so that happens when we have something that is horizontal and we have something that is tilted. The connection, yeah, I have to create like, this is something that I don't find in this detail. because we don't have a section through the joist. We have a section through the thermal insulation, but on the structural front, I need to connect the beam, that beam here, to these joists. So we will need something made of wood, specifically with that shape, so that I can connect the horizontal beam and the joist. So this can be I'm going to create architecture component model in place. I'm going to, this is a structural framing, yeah, because it belongs to the structural elements. So structural framing, okay. And I'm going to create the extrusion starting on grid. I need one of, if those are numbers, the reference plane or the work plane has to be one of the letters. So I'm going to create this on grid A. I'm going to create extrusion, and I'm going to create a triangle like this. Okay, so this element is something that connects the beam and the joist. In the real world, we will need that triangle because we can't rest till the joist on something that is horizontal. So we need this kind of base so that I can nail this element here, and I can nail this element to the beam. Okay. So if I click finish, this material, it's not OSB, it's the default material that we have here. It would be wood, the soft lumber for world. And now I finish the model, and I have to, on the 3D view, yep, so that material is all the way there. Okay, so that wooden element is connecting the joist to everything that it's horizontal. If I change the realistic view, yes, I have this element here so that the joists are resting on something solid. And this solid thing is resting on the beam itself. I didn't do it. Okay, so now this works well, but yeah, when we're working with these wooden elements, we have a lot of elements like this. Okay, so probably we don't need something like that, but there are small pieces that you need to include there to connect everything. Okay, so there are a lot of small pieces here, and those small pieces, okay, you notice that you need them when you are building the stuff. So we are virtually creating the 3D model, but we realize that we need something to connect this joist to this beam. So that's the element that we need here. Okay. Okay, so now we have the joist, we have the wall. So structurally, we have connected the elements. Okay, so now it can stand. What do we need now? Now we need the thermal insulation, because yeah, we need the thermal insulation because we don't have any. So that's the roof, and the roof needs a large amount of thermal insulation. So what can we do now? You remember that in the floor, we had thermal insulation, but just to show you the floor, we had thermal insulation, but just here, okay? Because if the basement is at the same temperature as the same floor and the same temperature as the second floor, we don't need thermal insulation here. We need thermal insulation to prevent the thermal breach there when we have the roof to floor connection, okay? But in the roof, this is not enough. So we need thermal insulation between the joists, and this has to be a continuous thermal insulation. So this small distance, it's not enough, okay? Because now the roof is what separates the indoors and outdoors. So we need the thermal insulation here. So what would I do? I think I'm going to create a component model in place. I'm going to use extrusion. I'm going to fill the gap between joists with cellulose or glass fiber or whatever. We need the thermal insulation there. But what is the tilt? Okay, so I'm going to use a reference plane, and I'm going to use a reference plane with this tilt. Okay, so I'm going to go to architecture. You have to do this from the elevation. If you use a 3D view, it doesn't work. So you have to create a reference plane from the elevation. I'm using the south elevation. I create a reference plane, and I follow this tilt. Okay, and I name this roof insulation. So I'm creating this reference plane, roof insulation. And now on the 3D view, I need the roof insulation here between the joists, okay? So on the 3D view, I can create a component, model in place. This has to be a roof because I'm working with the roof, okay? It's a roof component. I'm going to set the work plane at this roof insulation. I created this reference plane roof insulation. Okay. And now I'm going to use extrusion. And using extrusion, I'm going to trace the shape of this joist. There you go. Make sure that it's closed. I think it is. Yep. I'm going to click finish to make sure that it works. Yep, you see that it works. Okay, so that's exactly what I want. I want to fill this joist cavity with thermal insulation. Yep. And this is not OSB, the material is cellulose. Okay, so the material is cellulose. And before finishing the model, I'm going to edit extrusion. And I think I'm going to copy, I can copy the extrusion, the solid itself, but I think it works better if we copy the, we copy right? If we copy the drawing, but I have to find a reliable point that I don't find it. Oh, there. I can do another one again. And now can I copy this shape to the following? No, I can't find a reliable point. Okay, so I'm going to click finish. And can I copy this now? No, I can't. Look, finish model. So if I do this and copy, come on. I need to find something I can rely on, maybe here. And then can I go this way? Oh, kind of. Okay, so keep going. So the idea is that we fill all this with cellulose. Okay, so we have the joists, and the space between joists have to be filled with cellulose. Yeah, this way. Okay, we can keep going, but all the spaces between joists have to be filled with cellulose. Okay, so looking at the model, I have created the joists and I filled the space between joists with cellulose. Are we done? No, not at all. Because what would be next? If you remember the floor, we have the joist, we have the cellulose, and we have board and the board here. Okay, so we need two OSB boards at the top and at the bottom of this element. So that's what we have to do now. I can create the board using the same reference plane that I did. Okay, so I'm going to use the same reference plane, but it has to be a component model in place. The material always be. So I'm going to create architecture, component, model in place. It's a roof. Okay. I have to set the work plane on the roof insulation. I can use the same reference plane. I click OK. And now if I select extrusion, I can start at this corner, at this point, and I can go all the way to the end of the roof structure. The thickness, if I go up, the thickness can be 1 inch or ½ inch. I don't remember the thickness that I use for this board. Probably ½ inch is better. Okay, so click here, ½ inch, and now go all the way here and close it. Finish. Material is OSB, so it's the right material. And now I have to drag it all the way, all the way down up to this point. Okay, so I have created this board. It's made of OSB. Okay, and now I would need exactly the same, but at the bottom of the joists. Okay, so if you remember, the floor is exactly the same. We have a board, joists, and board. So in this case, I have the board here. Then I have the joists, and then I need another board at the bottom of this. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to create another component, model in place, OSB. I'm going to use the same reference plane, but now it's going to be here at the bottom of these joists. Okay, so let's do it. Architecture, component, model in place. This is roof. Set the work plane at roof insulation and extrusion. And now I'm going to start here, there, ½ inch down, and then all the way here and there. I click finish, check the material, it's always B, and now I have to drag it to this handle. Yep, all the way down. Up to, the south elevation. Yeah, I have to go up to this triangle that I created here. Yep.
Is the triangle OSP two?
The triangle is what?
The triangle, the materials OSP 12.
This one.
Yeah.
I used soft lumber. OSB, you can't use OSB as a thick material. They're always like thin panels. So yeah, depending on the thickness, if it's too thick, and I think this is too thick for an OSB, but the material of this one, I selected soft wood. Yeah, soft wood. Okay, so now we have the OSB there, and we have the OSB on the top. We have to fill all these spaces between joists with the thermal insulation. So we are on our way to do that. If I use the section box to see what I'm doing. Okay. And then I use the front view. So now we see where we are. Okay, so we have cellulose here, we have cellulose here, and we have a huge gap without cellulose. The goal is that we have to wrap everything with the thermal insulation. But I told you in this detail that we are looking at, we don't have the structural elements. When we have structural elements, solving thermal bridges, it's more difficult, okay? Because we have a solid thing here, and we can get rid of the beam because the beam is a structural element. So we cannot go with the cellulose through the beam. So what do I have to do? The goal is to wrap everything with thermal insulation. And so, yeah, we have to figure out how to do it, okay? But the thing is that we need to continue the thermal insulation. We cannot have a gap. We cannot have a thermal bridge without thermal insulation. So far, we have good thermal insulation in the wall. We have a good thermal insulation on the roof, but we have to fix always this point, okay? So we can fix it now, or we can keep going. We can create all the elements, and then we can fill the gaps without thermal insulation. We can fill it with thermal insulation. So let's keep going, and let's see what happens. Okay, so on the structural front, we have the stats. That stats go up to the beam. Okay, so the structure is solved. And then what about this one? Those elements here, they are connected to this column. Okay, so we nail this element here to this column. So one of the things we should do is to keep working with those elements because we have to go up to the top of this beam. So I can select this one, I can copy, and I can copy this element, remove constraint, and I can copy it here up to the top of this. Okay. So now I have to select this 2x3 column. Well, it's not a column. I created a column, but it's just like a strap to nail the siding. So I have to move this all the way up. Move it. I can change the top offset. If I make the top offset instead of 11, 12, it's not enough. What about 12 and 11 inches? Okay, we're getting there. So probably if I make it 13, it works. So that this is what I'm doing. I'm extending this element here, and then I'm extending that one. What's the problem? I have to do this with every single element that I have, every single vertical element that I have. Okay, but now I know the right offset that I have to create, so I can select all of them. And if I change here this to 13, it works. Okay, so I'm doing it only in this detail, but now that works because I can move the siding all the way up. Okay. Okay, good. What's next? Okay, so this is the board. You see that this is a thermal insulation. This element I have here is a board. That's another board. And I have this OSB waterproof board, this one, which is thicker than the other one, that goes away from the facade. Okay, so we need this little overhang so that the water, I can get rid of water and the water doesn't get into the cavity here. Okay, so I need this element. So I need to extend this element all the way there. We have created this horizontal element here, and then we move this all the way up. So I'm going to do the same thing. So now I'm going to create another OSB board, and I'm going to extend this OSB board thicker. This is 1/2 inch. But now I'm going to create a 1-inch board, and I'm going to extend it beyond the facade. Okay, so let's do it. I'm going to select everything. And using, again, the roof insulation reference plane, I'm going to create another OSB board, 1 inch thick. So let's go to architecture, component, model in place, roof. Set the work plane on this roof insulation, extrusion, and now I'm going to create a 1 inch. So I have this thing here. Set the work plane, roof insulation, okay. So, well, I think I have here a small, yeah. For some reason, I didn't do, okay, I'm going to cancel just a minute. Because I didn't start this in the right plane, so it has to be here. Okay. And now I'm going to start again. Okay, when I extruded it, I didn't place it in the right position. I have a gap here. So it will give me some trouble. But anyway, if you did it correctly, you won't have this this problem that I'm having here. So architecture, component, architecture, component, model in place, roof. Okay, set the work plane, this roof insulation, okay, extrusion, and now I want to start here. Okay, so if I start here, I go all the way. Well, I stopped here, but you have to cover the whole roof. Okay, so I came here, Then I have to go 1 inch up, then all the way there. And there you go. I click finish, make sure that the material is OSB. This would be a different OSB, waterproof, but and then you can extend it beyond it's important that it's extended beyond the facade. How much? Well, not too much because this is not structural, but just hiding. Yeah, so beyond the facade, the siding plane. So this would be enough. Yeah, something like that. And yeah, this is what I didn't do before because I have to move it here. Okay, so now I have this thicker OSB board. I have the thin OSB board here, the same as this one. Then I have a thick OSB board, this one, the same as this one. And as you can see on this OSB board, I have these rafters placed there. Okay, so now on this board, I have to place horizontal rafters. So let's do it. Which plane do I want to work with? I have to place the rafters here, but they have to be tilted. I can do this with a component model in place, or I can do it with a beam. I think I'm going to use a component model in place because if I use the beam, I have to place the beam, then I have to tilt it, and I think it will take me longer. I don't have the information because that depends. You see that the distance between these horizontal elements, it depends on the size of the tile. I don't know the size of the tile, so I'm going to make this up. So I'm going to create like a 1 foot gap between those elements. Okay, and this can be the 2 by 3 dimensions that I created before. Okay, so I'm going to do this with component model in place. I'm going to start with the south elevation. I'm going to select one of the letters because if on the south elevation I see numbers, then the reference plane, it has to be a letter. So let's do it. Architecture, component, model in place, roof. Okay. The work plane, it's gonna be one of the letters, grid A. And I'm going to create extrusion 3 by 2 element like that. Okay. I want the distance between these elements to be 1 foot. I said, okay, so I can go 1 foot up. Let's say 1 foot is not enough. So let's say 1 foot and 6 inches. Yeah, that looks better. And now I'm going to copy this as many times as I need. Okay. And if I click finish, select the material, and this material is not OSB. I'm going to select the soft wood again. Finish model, and then on the 3D view, I click here all the way. Okay. So now if you look at this, I have the thermal insulation, the first OSB board, then I have the thicker OSB board, then I have these rafters here, 2x3. So the same thing I got in my detail. Okay, the joist, thermal insulation, the second, the OSB board here, the second and thicker OSB board, and now these are the rafters. What else? Well, I can do this. You see that we have a gutter. Okay, so what is the gutter? Well, if the rain falls, it's not mandatory, but I think it's better collecting the water here and then having like a downspout. Yeah, so I think it's better because otherwise the water will fall here, and it's very unpleasant if you're just at the end of the, if you're waiting at the end of the this small overhang and all the water is falling on you. So having a gutter, it's better. Okay, so let's do it. We have a gutter here, so we are going to, yeah, so this element would be slightly above, but anyway. I'm going to create another architecture component, model in place, the gutter. We don't have this category here, so I'm going to use roof again. And I'm going to set the work plane at grid A again. And I'm going to create extrusion. So what is a gutter? A gutter is something like this. And here we have a circle. Okay, so we can have like a 6-inch. Is it enough? Okay, a 6-inch diameter. Now I select circle. I select the center. And now I have to trim. Well, I can split the element here. I can split the circle here and here. Get rid of it. And now trim this and this. And yeah, that will be enough. And now I need a thickness. This is the material for gutters is usually lead or zinc. Something very thin, so I can create an offset. 1/16. 1/16 can work. So I'm doing this. Now I have to close all the gaps. This one and this one. Now I have to trim this tiny, well, I think it works. If I click finish, what's the material? It's not OSB for sure. We have lead. Lead. We don't. We have aluminum. Well, we have aluminum. It would be too expensive having an aluminum gutter, but it has to be something metallic. So I'm going to select aluminum because that's the only thing that we have available so far. And now it has to go, yep, all the way here again. Okay, so we have this gutter. It's underneath this element. So if I nail everything together, the horizontal element, the gutter, to the OSB board, and we can collect water there. I'm used to Spanish gutters. In Spain doesn't rain at all, so probably here you need a bigger one. Okay. Anyways. Okay, so let's look at the front view. We have a lot of things here, so we are getting there. So we have the gutter, we have all these elements. Now we need to create the tiles. Okay, so we can follow this example, those tiles here. You see that the tile is not even nailed, so we have this shape. Okay, so we have this element and we just place the tile here. So we don't need a nail here. Sometimes they are nailed, sometimes they are not. If it's a ceramic one, we don't have nails. And why do we have all these shapes here? Well, because we have to get rid of water. So we can try to trace something like this. Okay. So let's do it. And yeah, so understanding tiles, it's fun. So first, we're going to create the first row. So the first row is going to be here between this and this horizontal element. Okay. We don't have a tile family, so we're going to keep going with the architecture component model in place, roof. And we're going to use, well, we're going to set the work plane at grid A again. We're going to use extrusion. So the shape of the tile, okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, then let's take a look at this. Okay, so we have these. Well, I'm going to create something similar to that one. We don't have to, usually we don't have to define the shape of tiles. Someone has already designed it for us. Okay, so this could be good enough, or, well, this is a little, okay. So let's make this a little thicker, like this, and click finish. Material, it's not always B. Do we have something made of ceramic? We don't. We have asphalt shingles, but this is not, we are doing something better than the asphalt shingle. We can make it, okay, so let's use concrete. I'm not happy. Okay, we can change the material later, but let's use concrete so far. I think I created a concrete 2 element, so let's use this. And let's click finish. And now, looking at the 3D view, the shingle, so it's not something continuous. So shingles are like this. Okay, so what's the width of a shingle? If we look at the models, that's the section. But if we look at the 3D view, okay, so you look at the proportion of a shingle, and they are overlapped. Okay, so we don't have the second row is displaced. Okay, so we don't have. Yeah, we have this overlap between different shingles, and this is what really matters. So we're going to do this. Okay, so the width of a shingle can be something like that. And now I can copy these shingles here. If I remove constraint, I can copy all these shingles in this direction. Okay, so on, so forth. So you have to copy all of them. In the next row, it can't be in the same place. So I can go back to the south elevation. I'm going to copy this shingle, copy here. Okay, and you see that this doesn't work because this row, I have to rotate that shingle. Rotate, place the center of rotation here. And now I have to rotate this here. Oh, cannot rotate element into this position, cancel. Okay, so if it doesn't work, I'm going to create a new one with that rotation, okay? Because the shingle has to overlap this one. So, okay, so I'm going to go to architecture, component, model in place, roof. Set the work plane at grid A and use extrusion. So I'm going to do something similar, but now we need this overlap here, okay? So that's why we need this rotation, and then I can have this element, have this, and then have that, and then here. Okay, so you see that we need this overlap, so this is slightly tilted, it's not like this last one. So that's why in this detail, they had this one, probably it's 3x2, but it's in a different orientation, you see? And then we can copy. Okay, we should have done it, but I think this is good enough. And if we do this, now the important thing is that the shingle, it has to be the same size as the other one. But we need the overlap. When we finish the model, if we move it, okay, moving doesn't work. So we have to move it up to the midpoint here, the midpoint there. Okay, so we need that overlap, and now we can keep copying those shingles or tiles in this. Okay, so it's important that we have this overlap between the shingles. So it's not just copying the same row. We have to displace this, and then we can keep copying. Oh, I made this out of OSB. Big mistake. Okay, before starting copying, make sure that you change the material, because otherwise you have to change all the tiles. So it's better. Okay, the ceramic looks nicer. It's a question of the material itself. We can go to ceramic texture. Difficult finding the right. Okay, so that would be the typical color of a ceramic tile. I can use this one. Well, I don't know, sometimes the PNG extension doesn't work in Revit, so I prefer the JPEG. So let me see if I can find, okay, so this is a JPEG. I think it will work better. So let's save that ceramic. And now if I come to this, I can edit in place, select it again, change the material. I'm going to create a new material. The identity is ceramic. And the appearance, if I load that image, I'm in desktop. Textures. Open. I want to change the sample size to, say, 3 feet. Done, apply, okay. Yeah, that looks nicer. Okay, anyway, this is about changing the material of the tile. Concrete doesn't look very nice, but this looks nicer. The important thing is that we need this overlap between tiles. And the important thing is that we need all the structure to hold the tiles. If it's too windy, probably we will nail the tiles to the structure. If we don't have enough wind, probably it's not necessary. But I think in this place, you have to nail the tiles to the structural element just in case. Okay, I think we have to finish. And we are not done.